Good evening. Welcome to Urban Facts. I'm Eamon Hotep,
And I'm Gabriel Parker.
and today is Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m., and we will be interviewing this young lady right here, the talented Miss Amani Parker. Miss Parker is a member of We Reign. She's also my daughter and Ambriel's sister, and we will be discussing with her systematic racism. Um, Before we get into all that, I got some interesting news here. So, a while back, we heard about this young man here. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Let's see. Damari Carter. We gonna play the news clip so you guys can know what's going on here. Let's see here. There you go. All right, give me a second and we'll get this playing here so you guys can check it out. All right, let's see there. All right, I'm gonna share this screen. Where is it at? Oh, here it is.
A 28-year-old woman and her 30-year-old boyfriend now stand charged with murder in what police call the apparent beating death of her 4-year-old son. Philadelphia police began to investigate the disappearance of Damari Carter on New Year's Eve weekend. Tonight, they say Dominique Bailey, who first claimed the boy was hit by a car, has admitted her involvement in his death. Action News reporter Maggie Kent now live at police headquarters. Maggie, still, police have not yet found this little boy's body.
And that's exactly what the family is asking for, Brian. We spoke to Damari's aunt, the sister of the woman who is now charged in his murder. She says the least that she can do, tell us where Damari is.
We are sorry that we didn't do more and that we're never going to stop looking for him.
Family is in mourning as police are searching for the body of 4-year-old Damari Carter. His mother, 28-year-old Dominique Bailey, is now facing murder charges along with her boyfriend, 30-year-old Kevin Spencer. Damari's aunt, Nakia Bailey.
It didn't have to happen. That baby was wanted. If not by her, by everyone else. His father wanted him.
We spoke to his father in Texas today.
For you to take him away from me, it really hurts.
Investigators got word something was wrong after family reported Dominique Bailey was lying about her son's whereabouts. He was last seen November 25th.
She was telling us that he was fine. And then when she did tell us that he got hit and killed by the car, she wouldn't give us any information. Then she stopped contacting us, period.
When Bailey was brought in for questioning on January 4th, what she told investigators led to homicide charges and led detectives to search the boyfriend's West Philadelphia home and nearby dumpster. Still, no sign of Damari. The family wants to give him the burial he deserves.
I want to give him the respect that's due to him and his father and our family.
Damari's mother and the boyfriend still in custody facing those homicide charges, and they're still being interviewed. Investigators really want to find the young boy's body, not only to aid in the investigation and help them figure out exactly what happened, but of course to provide closure for his family members. For live at police headquarters, Maggie Kent, Channel 6, Action News.
Well, it's a sad thing that. Hold on, people work with me here. Trying to get this off here. Let's just stop sharing. Maybe that'll work. There you go. It's definitely sad that happened to that young man. Um, we talk about parenting here on the foundation a lot. Uh, at one point, more than what I thought was necessary. Now, to be honest, I thought today we was talking about social justice, but we're talking about systemic racism. However, the results of the type of parenting that Damari's mom was portraying or, given, I could say it could be due to social injustice. Now you asking like, how could that relate? Because in certain programs and environments and situations in regards to people's lifestyle that have them turn a different path, due to stress from poverty, living conditions. They can have high blood pressure. It's a variety of things that could take place just like that. But you don't want the pressures of the environment to make you kill somebody, especially your own child. Um, I grew up in the projects, very hard, definitely in poverty. I always told my kids coming up, I always had one pair of shoes. I mean, even now, I still wear one pair of boots majority of the time. I don't know how they feel about it. The oldest one hates it, but that's just how I grew up. I don't really have how can I say, a passion to have on, name brand this or that. Excuse me. But that's just due to how I grew up. Now I'm not saying that what happened to Damari isn't the mom's fault, because it is. So here's a picture of the mom, by the way, and the boyfriend. So wait a minute. I'm gonna get it right in a second. Pray for me. Pray for me. So that's the mom and the boyfriend. Um, Due to from the news reports, the mom was living in Texas with the baby's dad, uh, Daryl Carter Jr. They had some type of falling out. Dominique moved back to West Philly. Somehow she got with this guy Kevin Spencer, and they conspired together and killed Damari. For us to have a better society, we have to have better services within that society. And if the services aren't there, then you have to find them. It can't be an excuse, well, that, hey, there's no park across the street for my son. Then you might have to go down the street to find one. Hey, there's no YMCA in the neighborhood. Then you probably gotta go to another neighborhood. People do it all the time with schools. They think that the school that their child is going to is good. They send them to a different school. You need counseling or something. It's churches, it's mosques, synagogues. I mean, I'm Christian, but shoot, counseling is everywhere. And this isn't a thing about religion. I don't really care who you follow, but I don't want you following somebody that's going to kill a child. So please take that in consideration. So get counseling, get help, ask people. It's books here. I always advise people to get this book right here. Excuse me. Let me pull this back up. This book right here is called the book you wish your parents had read, and your children will be glad that they did that you did. It's a very powerful book, inspirational, and it teaches lessons in regards to parenting, so that things like wanting to abuse your child or how to get past tough situations won't be that much of an issue, especially abusing your child. So, Bree, what do you think about this situation with Damari?
Um, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. I think that it's very sad. It's also shocking because I wouldn't expect some like your own, why are you, like your own mother to kill you? Like you're killing something that you birthed out into this world. And just for him, he's had such a short life. He didn't even get to see all the whole world. And it's kind of very disappointing because you don't even know what he could have been. That could have been like the next doctor or the next president or whatever. And you just ended his life so short. And that's why I don't like, that's why I just don't like that. It's just very disappointing and sad.
yeah, I agree. He definitely could have been the next congressman, doctor, lawyer, trash man, whoever. He didn't have a chance to do anything. He was only 4. He didn't even start school. I'm not even sure if he was in daycare, but he didn't have a chance to do anything. And this comes from bad parenting. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say if you grew up in impoverished neighborhood or if you grew up in the hood or the projects, there's a likelihood you're going to kill your kids. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that due to the environment and the situations, you know, it causes more of a probability of the effects of the environment for something like that to happen. Now, this isn't a high likely case where everybody just killing their kids because they out in poverty, because that doesn't happen. If that was the case, I wouldn't be here. What I'm saying is that you can't let your situation get to you so bad that you perform acts of violence like this. And then on top of that, she had to be influenced by the boyfriend because she wasn't thinking about killing her son out in Texas. So women, you can't just meet these guys and then they, influence you to do all these crazy things. And men too, to harm your children. That's not how that works. So before we bring on Miss Parker here, we're going to give, I'm sorry, the definition of systemic racism, so that you guys have an understanding of that. So let me pull it up here. Systemic racism are policies and practices that exist throughout a whole society or organization and that result in in and support a continued unfair advantage to some people and unfair or harmful treatment to others based on race. I'm trying to get us back on here. We see a lot of systemic racism today with police brutality, um, poor job treatment. I mean opportunities. Like a lot of blacks might not get jobs due to the fact that they are black. They might not get into, and minorities too. It ain't just blacks. They might not get into colleges due to the fact that they're a minority or black. So that's systemic racism, where they say that you don't belong to this genre of people because you're different. So we're gonna bring on Miss Parker. Hey Amani, how are you?
Hi, I am a little bit excited for today's interview.
Okay. Um, Let me see. We should have these questions. You got the questions, Amber? Yeah.
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, go ahead. You can start off there.
Okay. My first question for you, Amani, is in your opinion, how can this issue be fixed? This issue of systemic racism, how can it be fixed?
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you, Embryo. Could you speak up a little bit louder? I'm sorry.
Okay. The question I have for you is, in your opinion, how can the issue of systemic racism be fixed?
Um, well, start by talking out let's start by talking about the issue at hand. Um, I would say that there is no one given solution or fixture, I would say, for the issue of systemic racism, just because of how embedded it is into society and into culture. I feel like it would take, not that it's not possible, but it's not just one thing. Now, what I said that I believe we can fix this issue is that we can start with the education system. And I said that if we are able to give kids in the inner city schools access to the same curriculum as their white counterparts, then we can increase their chances of success. Also, if we stop determining how far children in inner cities are able to succeed, then that way we don't cut them off or limit their chances before they're actually able to succeed.
No, you said limit their chances. What chances are being limited from the issue of systemic racism?
Systemic racism, it is basically what I would say is like a sky limiter. I think everyone knows this saying like to reach for the sky, and imagine systemic racism as the top over the sky, especially for kids in the inner city communities. It limits them from being able to succeed in a classroom. It limits them from being able to get job opportunities. It limits them from even being able to survive, as systemic racism has gone far enough to impact their communities, their everyday to day living, the food that they eat, how they sleep, what they sleep around. Like systemic racism literally impacts the lives of the inner city community.
Bree, what's your next question?
My next question for you, well, you already kind of gave us the answer to this question, but my question is, can you give us the definition of systemic racism?
Yes. Systemic racism is the collection of policies and practices that are basically embedded into society that unfairly affect a given minority or ethnic group.
Still muted. From your definition, can you give us two examples of that?
Two examples of systemic racism.
Yes.
The the education system, and I gave that as an example just because of the primary goal of education. Black, well, majority, a good portion of the inner city community is predominantly black. But however, schools were designed with the notion in mind to keep the black child inferior. In fact, education wasn't even something that black people were supposed to have. So now today in these schools, especially the schools that you find in the inner city, you find that there's a lack of resources, finances, and curriculum to properly support these kids. And I say that this is also an impact of systemic racism, because all the systems that were placed at hand, the laws, the policies to prevent this very thing, are still affecting the education system. And another example, um, we can even say, go as far as to say, like, the poppy store. We may not even think of that, but poppy stores are predominantly in these inner city communities. If you travel outside of the communities, you may not find what you find in your poppy stores, because there's a lot of different chips and sodas that are there that you won't find if you travel to another neighborhood, even liquor stores. And if you walk in certain communities, inner city communities, you find like a liquor store on each and every block. Now, that poppy stores are most affordable. Now, this is why this leads back into systemic racism, because this is all that a lot of people can afford. And this is all that they have access to. There are not many Acmes or Giants or anything of that nature within these neighborhoods, because they are purposefully placed away from these areas and replaced with things such as poppy stores and liquor stores. This is also an example of systemic racism, because of the simple way of just erasing population, if you think about it. Because really what these are designed to do is simply wipe off the black community. We put these liquor stores in these communities where we deem the people as drug addicts, and then we put the poppy stores in these communities where we deem black people as diabetic and obese. So these are not just coincidences, these are realities that were implanted into these communities for a specific reason.
Yes, I couldn't agree. I agree too. I agree with what you said. The next question I have for you is, what advice can you give to youth about systemic racism? What can you say to youth?
What advice?
Yes.
Um, advice I would give. Some advice that I would give is basically just to educate yourself, to learn about your community, the issues facing your community, because a lot of young people are not actually aware of these issues within their own communities. I myself did not even know half of these issues that go on, because I'm just so used to certain things that I don't even realize that they're actually issues that can impact my health and my well-being. So educating yourself about the issues in your community, for one, and then for two, not limiting yourself to your community. I have an aunt who lives in Mississippi. She lives in a beautiful house, and it's within a gated community, and there's no poppy store in sight. I think the nearest store is at least 10 minutes away. And that experience, it showed me that I can achieve more than just what the experience that I was given by my actual community. So being able to explore, even if you don't have the money to travel far, traveling to other places within Pennsylvania, just to limit your mind, not to limit your mindset to what you're used to, but to get new experiences and new insights from other communities, so that you can see that where you have been placed and what you have learned and what you have experienced is not the end of all. There's much more beyond that, and there's bigger and better things.
Well, with the poppy stores not being in those type of areas, why do you think that is?
I spoke back on this before. I really believe that it's most affordable to a lot of these inner city communities. I myself, it's like 4 different poppy stores on each corner surrounding my house, so it's affordable within the income range of the people living in my community. But I also think that these stores are in the communities because of the consumer nature. I think that they know that the people living in these communities are more likely to purchase their products because, one, we don't know what's in the benefits or the negative impacts of some of these chips, candies, sodas, juices. We don't know some of that stuff. So we may not be educated enough and we may just simply eat, drink, or whatever we do with the stuff that we buy. We may just simply eat or drink it just because that's what we can afford, not knowing the impact that it may have on our health. Whereas people in other communities, they have classes where they learn about they sit and have the whole breakdown about what's on your plate and what you should be eating and what a balanced meal looks like. And in my school, that program was taken out after third grade due to lack of financial aid. So I feel that we don't have the education to know what these foods can truly do to us. Therefore, we are ignorant to the impact that it can have on us, making us the consumer. Therefore, I find that they're more in these communities because simply that's just who's buying. I believe you're on mute.
Yeah, I just took it off. Again.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of poppy stores in around like gated communities. If they are, you have to probably drive like a mile or something just to see them. Um, I think it's set up systemically, like you said, to provide unhealthy choices to children, whereas though kids should be eating more like fruit and um healthier snacks opposed to Takis or candy bars and things all the time. But when that's your most e- easy and viable choice, then that excuse me sometimes goes along with that. So with the systemic racism within the community, do you think that affects parenting?
Most definitely. I would say that it may be different for each person. It may not affect them all in the same way, but I do believe it can have some benefits because if you grew up within the education system that was underfunded, under resourced, then you may not have the knowledge that you may need to pass on to your child. And then there's also a chance that because of the conditions of the environment that the parent may or may not have went to college or had the finances to support themselves after college. So that definitely plays a role on parenting because when you have a child that is a different type of physical and mental labor, and it takes a toll on the two equally. So I feel that systemic racism, it just kind of infects that all. But this is the thing about systemic racism, that it ties into every single aspect, or you can tie it back to every single thing, because that is just how these systems intertwine to impact everything. So I really believe that parents could be impacted, especially if they were victims of these certain conditions themselves.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Due to the limited choices that some of these parents have, it could affect their type of parenting style.
And today, me and Ambrio, I was watching this video about the today's generation, Generation Alpha. Well, Generation Alpha. I don't know if that's today's generation or not, but Generation Alpha. And a lot of the teachers were talking about how parents were not knowing or knowing that their child is failing or not thriving on the level that they should be and did nothing about it, but is able to quote songs that may be vulgar or a little raunchy in nature and do dance moves that are inappropriate. Children at like 5 years old was singing songs by Sexy Red, an artist I don't even listen to at 17 years old because I think it's a little too inappropriate for me. And I believe that that's also another impact of systemic racism in itself. But the parent may not know any better because they didn't have, they may or may not have had access to proper counsel or education to teach them this is not suitable for your child to be around, or this is suitable for your child to be around. So they may really not know and may just be used to it because it's something that is normalized within their community.
That's I agree with that also. So how does the organization you work with, We Reign, what do they teach you guys in regards to this subject?
Right now, our main focus is reproductive justice, but like I said, everything can be tied back into systemic racism. Different areas that I have focused on so far is the stigma surrounding um, reproductive health and reproductive justice, like the whole topic. Because in our community, we have this thing that talking about sexual health is bad, and if a girl, especially young Black girls, if a girl comes to you talking about their sexual health or their menstrual cycle or anything surrounding puberty, then that means that they're trying to be fast. And that's another impact of systemic racism because of the lack of education that is being given to young Black girls within these communities. A lot of different schools do not have sexual ed programs, and the programs that they do have are not efficient enough to properly teach young girls how to be comfortable about these type their body and their health overall. So it also can be a reason for teen pregnancy and can be a reason for depression. A lot of different factors tie back into this, all because of the lack of education, which I mentioned before can be tied back to systemic racism.
Okay, okay. Um, so from your experience with We Reign, you guys talk a lot about a lot of social issues, social injustice, systemic racism, gun violence. Overall, how do you think the program helps youth in regards to the aspects of what's happening in society today?
I think that the program does a phenomenal job of spreading awareness about to young Black girls about the issues that they face and that their sisters are facing in their within their own communities. I know that when I first joined, it was a lot of things going on that I had no clue that was going on because it didn't impact me, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't impacting someone in my community. So I think that Rain does a phenomenal job of making Black girls aware of the issues that are troubling their community.
Okay. Now, as far as school, how do you think education is affected by systemic racism?
I could use one of my personal experiences. Um, so I attended a school. I attended one of Mastery's schools within the inner city, I would say. And I was top of my class and I graduated with I think a I don't remember my GPA. I'm sorry, but I did. I was valedictorian, and I won like almost every award for each of my classes. So I was leaving that school thinking like I'm at the top. I'm at the top of this education thing. Like I know that there are all that there is to know. And fast forward to 10th grade, and the topics that we begin to learn about in school become a little bit more advanced because I take some advanced courses, and a lot of the kids in my classes are able to move at a faster rate because they're like, oh yeah, well, I learned that in my old school. Oh yeah, I learned that in my old school. But I didn't get the opportunity to learn that in my old school because it wasn't simply part of the curriculum.
Right.
So when I got to high school, it was kind of like a catching up kind of thing and showing like, okay, I have to know this and I also have to know that. So you make sure that you study for this and you be prepared for that. Because what I thought I learned everything, I only knew just a little. And there was a lot
Right.
more that I had to learn because outside of my community, my white counterparts were learning at a faster rate with more advanced curriculum.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That happens a lot in the city schools. And this is also due to, within the society is also a social injustice issue because they're not providing the funding that they said that the schools need. Like with the sugar tax, I don't really see how that's really helping the schools because I mean I can't say if the kids aren't eating healthier, but it's supposed to be providing to how can I say younger education, like kindergarten and elementary school. So that definitely isn't like going into play. Um, Ambrell, what do you think about what Amani was? Well, what do you think about the issue with systemic racism and the educational system? Well, just to break it down for you a little bit more easier, do you think that it's fair in schools in the inner city? Do you think they have the same treatment in the inner city as they would in predominantly white areas?
Um, I think that the I think that the the treatment and the opportunities that many students have at PWIs or predominantly white schools is different from what I would have at Mastery. I think that they get to, for example, they many students they're learning to write in cursive, and cursive is a major thing when you grow up. You need to learn how to do autographs. You need to how to write your signature. They're learning how to do their own signature. I've not yet learned. I don't even know how to write in cursive. I'm in eighth grade. And many students are also learning two languages. They're learning other languages. I couldn't apply to a high school of masterman because I didn't know another language. And that school is a very great school, so I missed out on that. And I feel like that since they were able to learn like more, their curriculum, I would say, is more advanced than ours is at school.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys this here. Since when I was coming up, we had the curriculum of like classes before us, like maybe 5 years back. And I'm not sure if they still have this in books, but in the books, the kids would write their names in there. You can see like a list of names on there. And my fourth grade social studies class, I just happened to open a book, and my cousin Nina's name was in there. Nina's name was in there, and then it was like probably like four spaces back, so I would say it was like 4 years back. She's obviously was in a higher grade than I was, and the curriculum that the students had was so far back because sometimes the editions of these books change like every year or so. So we were like 4 years behind in regards to that curriculum. So we might not have gotten, all of the aspects of whatever that textbook had to offer because the book was outdated. Even attending Temple, going into a computer science program, a lot of those kids were learning the computer science, and a lot of those kids were learning in suburban areas was like Java, opposed to just operating a Windows system, like turning on your computer, opening up Word, typing a sentence, using the internet. Like kids were actually learning how to use computer programs to, function and operate operating systems and make programs on computers. So definitely the education system has to be upgraded a lot to give children the fair opportunities that they had. Amani, I want to thank you for your time. You definitely gave us some information which were very wise and knowledgeable in regards to systemic racism. And I'm so proud of you and Ambriel and Amaya. You guys are definitely the pinnacle of what teenagers should be doing in society today. And I'm not saying that you guys are above other teenagers. What I'm saying is you guys are examples to those teenagers. And trust me, it's people watching y'all. They watching what you're doing, they watching what you're saying. You'd be surprised. People in your household, at your school, at the church, because I know I'm watching y'all. And each and every one of you guys have been influential to me in regards to my life, academically, socially, religiously, you know, because of the thrive and the ambition that all three of you guys have. I'm proud of each one of y'all. And I know that you guys will be on track to accomplish the dreams and the futures that you guys have set out. So, congratulations for being such an outstanding person and keep up the good work. And Monty Man, we'll see you guys. We'll see you later on. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Take care. Love you.
Love you too. Bye bye.
All right. So that was Amani Parker from We Reign. We also forgot to mention that, Amani is one of the dancers at Kappa. I think they have a spring show coming up, so I'm not sure how they advertise that, but we definitely will try to get the information in regards to that if you guys want to check her out. One more thing, we got one more announcement here. So let's see here. So I started this show, I don't even know, a couple years ago. I guess it was just like something to do, and I wanted to, I guess, have a voice on the internet in regards to parenting. How parents should operate. How good parents should function. What's a bad parent, things like that. So I came up with urban facts. Actually, Amani came up with the name. It was urban because we deal with inner city, and facts like FAX because you're receiving information. So everything that I do, I try to incorporate the kids with so that they'll feel like a part of like what's happening. And I want them to feel a part because what I'm doing is very important to me. Excuse me. Because I'm trying to help children just like them. So it's not an easy task being a parent. these girls make it phenomenal, and every chance that I get, I'll let the people know like what's going on, in regards to them. So Ambrielle is the newest member to the Ethel Lee Zachary Foundation. She is as you can see, the co-host of Urban Facts. Um, and she came a long way because she didn't want to do this, and you know, uh, it was nervousness and I guess jitters. I mean, you can tell them how'd you feel, when I first was asking you to, do a video presentation.
When he first asked me to do this, I thought that I was shy because I said I didn't want to. If I'm being so honest, I didn't want to do it because I said I don't know what I was going to say because I don't like public speaking. I don't like speaking in front of people, and I'm not. If you ever meet me in person, I'm not that. I'm really not this. I'm very shy, and I don't like speaking that much. So I just thought it was a no.
Well, you're definitely doing a tremendous job. I'm definitely proud of you. This show is dedicated to Damari Carter. What happened to Damari is very heartbreaking. I wasn't really sure how we were going to do the show because I was really taken amiss by what happened to him. Like I said earlier, he didn't have a chance to do anything, and due to the treatment of his parent and her boyfriend, he didn't even really have a chance to be a child because that was taken away, due to selfish reasons. If you're not prepared to be a parent, then give your kid to somebody else. It's just as easy as that. I know the hardest thing I had to do in regards to parenting is that, me and the girl's mom had to decide to, part ways so that our marriage wouldn't be the type of example that, they would learn from. We didn't have a great marriage. Um, I'm not ashamed to say it because I've learned better from that now. But when you're having kids, the examples that you set have to be good ones. And if you don't know how to make them, you got to learn how to make them. And this ain't an easy task to do. We also have another announcement. I'll be letting you guys go in a second. So, Kayla White, this young lady, is missing. The family is looking for her. She was last seen February 4th at 9:30 a.m. on the 5800 block of North Marshall Street, wearing red pants, green green mid length jacket, black New Balances. If you have any information on Kayla, please don't hesitate to contact the Ethel Lee Zachary Foundation in regards to Mrs. White's location. Also on the flyer is the family information. Excuse me. You can contact them if you have any information in regards to Kayla. I'm sure they are deeply moved by this tragedy. Well, we don't want it to be a tragedy, but I would say by this situation. Ambrielle, you've done a great job. I'm definitely excuse me, proud of you. And just keep up the good work. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for us. We're going to part ways
Wait, Dad.
early. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Um, I still didn't do my moment in Black History. Although I
Oh,
didn't
I'm sorry.
get
Yeah,
sent.
what you got? Yeah, hold on. Let me see.
Well, so today,
What are you talking about?
um, it's like it's a short one, but it's not who I'm. So it's like I'm talking about black abolitionists today, and some guy named Sharada Mimpkins. So it's short.
Sherrod who?
Shadrach. I don't know how to say it. Shadrach, and then
Oh, Minkins.
Minkins.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, go ahead. What you got?
so it's very. So on this day in 1851, black abolitionists invaded a Boston courtroom and rescued the fugitive slave Sharaj Mimpkins. Mimpkins fled to Canada and with other African American expatriates in Montreal and would go on to create the city's first black community there.
Oh, that was it.
Yes, it was very short. But actually, I did not know about this. I did not know about this guy, and I have a question now. Did he make the first? As they say, the first black community? So he was the first one to start a community in Canada, Montreal. He started that. So it wasn't black people there originally, and he was the first to start that black people migration.
I would say according to your research here, I mean we could probably do some more in-depth research in regards to see if he was or if he wasn't. But according to where you got that information from, he's cited as being the first one to populate a black community in Canada. Um, excuse me. It's so important that blacks learn about their culture, especially Mr. Mickens. With him being an abolitionist, and it's a shame to say, but a lot of youth don't even know what an abolitionist is. So that's the purpose of the foundation, because we want to give these youth and other youth, because everybody's not black, a sense of knowledge in regards to their culture, so they have excuse me, a firm understanding of who they are as a person. So thank you again for your your moment in black history, and thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Eamon Hotep,
And I'm Gabriel Parker.
and thank you so much for watching Urban Facts. See you guys next week.
Bye.